We'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even some ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions are, those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me. So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock, you're with GB News, and coming up, headliners. But first, let's take a look at the latest news headlines. And today, Rishi Sunak has thanked Nicola Sturgeon for her service after the First Minister made a surprise announcement that she was to step down after 8 years in power. Ms Sturgeon said she was proud to have been the first female and longest-serving First Minister of Scotland. Ms Sturgeon acknowledged that the move might seem sudden, but she denied it was due to short-term pressures recently and said instead she'd been wrestling with it for weeks.
Good morning. To those who do feel shocked, disappointed, perhaps even a bit angry with me, please know that while hard, and be in no doubt, this is really hard for me, my decision comes from a place of duty and of love. Tough love, perhaps, but love nevertheless, for my party and above all for the country.
Well, also today, Lancashire Police said missing mother of 2 Nicola Bulley had a history of significant issues with alcohol, which was brought on by her ongoing struggles with menopause. Detectives say the 45-year-old was listed as a high-risk missing person due to a number of specific vulnerabilities. Underwater rescue expert Peter Faulding said tonight that he was brought in to do the search, but if he'd had this information earlier, it would have changed his search strategy.
That detail didn't necessarily need to be released to the public, but it would have been useful if we had been given that information on the day as trusted search experts, bearing in mind we were being tasked by the police search advisor and given areas of water to search. If we'd known on the day, we would have kept it quiet. We wouldn't have told the media, but it would have assisted us, because I had the theory that she had just slipped into the river, and where it is, it's only 2 foot deep. So I would have thought about other areas.
Now, the former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn says Sir Keir Starmer barring him from standing as a Labour candidate at the next general election is a flagrant attack on democracy. He also said it's a divisive distraction from the overriding goal the Labour has to defeat the Conservative Party. The Labour leader had earlier apologised for the party's handling of anti-Semitism under his predecessor. It's monitoring of the party 2 years after finding it responsible for unlawful harassment and discrimination. Well, lastly tonight, Hollywood actress and international star Raquel Welch has died at the age of 82. In the 1960s, she was an iconic figure on movie screens, starring in the film Fantastic Voyage, and perhaps most famously as the fur-clad cave woman in 1 Million Years BC. In a 50-year career, she starred in over 30 films, 50 television series, and was a Golden Globe winner. Her family said she had died after a brief illness. On TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Time for headliners.
Hello, I'm Andrew Doyle and welcome to Headliners, the newspaper preview show with a difference. We go through tomorrow's newspapers and, well, I mean, I know the other paper shows do that as well, but we do it, you know, differently. For one thing, instead of experts, we've got comedians, which is much better, isn't it? Today, I'm joined by Leo Kearse and, breaking his headliners hymen, it's Bruce Devlin. But first, let's have a quick look at Thursday's front pages. So we're going to start with the Daily Mail now. They are running with tearful Sturgeon quits with her dreams in tatters. Poor Nicola has gone. And The Guardian has Sturgeon quits, citing brutality in politics. I mean, that is what it's all about. The Times has huge boost to unionism as Sturgeon steps down. Very much a running theme on these covers. Metro, Sturgeon Corbyn. They're bringing in the news that Jeremy Corbyn has been barred from standing by Keir Starmer. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. And The Star, they're bucking the trend as ever. Form an orderly queue. Apparently lots of Brits are running off to Australia. And those were your front pages. And we're going to kick off with the front cover of the Times. What are they running with, Leo?
So Sturgeon has finally achieved independence, but unfortunately it's from her job rather than independence for Scotland.
So I sense a bit of gloating there, Leo.
A few months... Well, no, I mean, she was terrible for Scotland. She's dragged Scotland into... There's record drug deaths. Drug deaths are like 3.5 times higher than they are in the rest of the UK. The economy's tanking. There's a fraud probe at the moment ongoing. The SNP have just been so profligate with all the money they get handed by Westminster. It's just been, devolution has been a disaster for Scotland. But despite that, the independence dream burned strong. And a few months ago, Sturgeon was high in the polls. Independence, 56 or 55% of people want.
So why is it crashing down?
Well, since then she's made a bit of a mess of things. So she brought through. She's always bringing through ridiculous laws like the hate crime bill, things like that. But this time she brought through this gender reform bill that made it easier to change gender. So you could basically just say, I'm a woman, and then magically you're a woman, as if, somebody's waved a magic spell like Harry Potter, but not Harry Potter, because that would be transphobic. But also they made it younger as well.
To 16.
And then people said, you've got to put a clause in this that will stop it being exploited by predatory men. At the very least, stop, say, for example, rapists using it to get into a women's prison. And the SNP said, this would never happen. You're a transphobe. You're a bigot. Stop being transphobic. The very next day, it happened. And Isla Bryson, who was a double male rapist, identified as a woman, to get into a female prison. And this left the SNP in a conundrum because under their own law, he's a woman. He's definitely a woman.
It did kind of fall apart, didn't it?
Under normal common sense, he's not a woman.
So we've seen, Bruce, the SNP, I mean, as Alex Salmond pointed out in his speech, we were going great guns towards independence. Now the gender debate has really dragged it back because, of course, a lot of people, that wasn't a popular policy with the Scottish voters. Has Nicola Sturgeon made the right decision, do you think, in resigning?
I don't know. I'd watched the whole of the speech, and I get that she's tired, and I get that she's had enough, and I know that she's done a lot of stuff that people don't agree with. Whether she's done the right thing is only something that she will know for herself, obviously. In my opinion, I think if you think about if you take away whether you like her or not, I think you have to look at that's quite an amazing premiership that she's had, that she's been in the job at both levels for so long, and, very few women have done that.
That is something we should acknowledge. I mean, she's been in MSP longer than Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak have been MPs.
Yeah, Stalin was in power for a long time, didn't make him a great leader.
Leo, but, female politicians...
I'm not saying Stalin was as bad as Nicola Sturgeon, by the way.
Well, I'm glad we've clarified that. But no, I think you're right, Bruce. Whatever we think of her policy, she has achieved a lot. But there is a lot to be critical of. of as well, I think.
Absolutely, with any politician. But she's going to stay on in politics, she said. So I don't know what she's going to do.
Oh my God.
That's the thing, because I thought she was... when I first saw the headline, funnily enough,
yes,
I thought, right, OK, is she going to go away? But she's not. And she did mention about being on the back benches at some point.
Right, I thought she was going to do I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
She should do a Matt Hancock.
She loves those selfies. She loves taking selfies with celebrities. She'd be dancing on ice or whatever it is. She'll love that.
But do you remember Kezia Dugdale?
Oh, yeah.
She did I'm a Celebrity. And so did... What was the woman that wanted to sell a TV channel? Nadine Dorris?
Did she do it?
Yeah, she did do it.
She's been in the jungle?
Yeah.
Oh, OK. Yeah. I don't watch this show. All I know is just people sort of eating bugs and that kind of thing. It's not
which is all of our futures in about 5 years' time.
OK.
So all the food we'll be able to get.
That sounds like you're going down a conspiracy rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. Just for balance, I'd like to say, I mean, it definitely will happen, but it might not.
It might not.
Will it be the Waitrose Essentials cockroaches?
They'll be the better cockroaches. If you're going to do that, go Waitrose.
Crunch on these crickets.
Let's go on to the front of the Daily Mail now. This is... Oh, no, not the Daily Mail. What are we going? This is the Times now. Bruce, what is the Times running with?
Well, the Times is running with a couple of things, and they're saying there's a huge boost to unionism now as Sturgeon steps down.
Yes.
Because they say, excuse me, that Nicola's resignation represents a generational setback for the independence movement.
So that is interesting, isn't it? Because, as I say, they were reaching the point where they felt they had more than 50%, but then you had the UK Parliament saying you can't have another referendum because you said it was a once in a lifetime and it's only been 8 years, which isn't really a lifetime.
It almost is in Scotland, though. I mean, the life expectancy is so low now in Scotland that, you know, that is about...
That's reasonable.
Claiming a bus pass.
So do you think that this is this is the end for independence as a prospect?
I think certainly for now. I think the whole of the UK has become a lot more sensible. I mean, a few years ago, you know, we're like, yeah, let's do Brexit, let's have an independence referendum, let's do all this crazy stuff and shake things up. And now we've sort of decided, maybe we just should be a bit more sensible and not break ourselves up, you know, too hastily.
How do you feel about independence, Bruce, or do you not want to say?
I'm so tired of hearing about it. Like, genuinely, I really am. And, yeah, I'm one of these people, you know, you vote in a booth for a reason.
Yes.
Sometimes I go into a booth for a different reason, but that depends on what day of the week it is.
Absolutely.
But genuinely, I kind of think... I don't think it will start. I think you have a grassroots movement that are really behind it. And you have to remember, a lot of people will be really upset she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something, because we hear a lot of negative criticism about her. We do forget that, you know, she's won elections in the past, you know. She's
like the Boris Johnson of the SNP, but she is quite a divisive figure. And I think what she was good at was centralising power, and she purged political rivals such as Joanna Cherry from the front bench of the SNP. So there's a sort of dearth of talent. There's just this confederation of dunces left in the SNP. So I don't know who they're going to get to replace her. Nobody's got her
We might get to that later on, so I don't want to cover that yet. But Bruce, I did want to ask you about... There's another story on the front of the Times.
Well, there is, and this is very upsetting that Raquel Welch has died, unfortunately.
Aged 82.
Aged 82, had a line of wigs. I think it's important we bring that because you mentioned Boris Johnson, and I think that's where Nicola did so much better in the pandemic. And I know this is shallow. Her hair was immaculate.
Right, yeah.
His was a wee bit kind of stig of the dump.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, you know, and I think that's why a lot of people looked at her and thought, you've turned up, you've washed, there's a bit of Elnet there.
Yes.
You're good to go. Was it just Ron Seal? It looked like, you know, she placed that on her head.
I don't know if she's a member of Costco or any of that kind of stuff, and, you know, is getting things.
But she was well turned out, wasn't she? And I think that does make a difference to the electorate.
No, I think it does, because he always looked as though he'd just come from something suspicious in a wardrobe.
But is that where the missing Westminster money went? Did it go in her personal grooming?
Very possibly. Listen, can we just get back to Raquel Welch a moment?
Yes.
Just because I'm interested to know, because I know Raquel Welch from being on the poster in The Shawshank Redemption, but she actually had a career of her own in 3D, didn't she? She did a lot more than that.
Oh, she was like a real person with a real career. She won a Golden Globe. I think she was in over 50 films.
So
she was in Legally Blonde, which is a really big deal. And she had a wig line. I don't know if I said that. She had a wig line, which features in Sex and the City when Samantha goes to trace her adulterous boyfriend, and she went, oh my God, what have you got caught out? And she went, I have a wig from the Raquel Welch wig line.
Yeah. So this is why you're here, to sort of fill us in on these important points.
She had amazing Golden Globes. So I think that's why
We're going to move on to the Metro now. Leah, what are the Metro running with?
So Jeremy Corbyn has told Keir Starmer that blocking me is an attack on democracy. And you're not supposed to attack democracy. That's what I was going to do when I got into power and formed some sort of communist state. So basically Starmer is blocked. He's purged Labour of the sort of far left momentum.
Well, this is an ongoing thing with him, isn't it? Like because Labour has always been a kind of two-party in one situation. There is a right and there is a left, and they're very much purging the left. Sometimes a bit spuriously, you know. Sometimes you know they're getting rid of bad people as well. Yeah. With Corbyn, this is quite a significant moment, though, isn't it? To go for the former leader.
Yeah, and it's quite a symbolic move. It's sort of saying, you know, no, we're not going to have any of this. So he's not going to be able. I mean, he can stand as an independent, I believe, but he won't be able to stand. Is that what
he will do now?
That's what he's going to do. So you know, he's obviously got quite a following in Islington, where everybody is far left. So
can I just say it's not Islington because my friend used to live on the same street as him. It's Finsbury Park. That's where he lives.
That's where he lives, but I think he represents Islington.
I don't care. But I want the facts.
It's Finsbury Park in Islington Borough.
I don't know.
I mean, it could be, couldn't it?
Is it?
We should have done a bit of research, shouldn't we? Anyway, we're going to move on now to The Star. And The Star always go with a slightly different angle for their front covers. What have they gone with today, Bruce? Have you got that one?
I don't have it. Leo does.
Oh, Leo's
It's about going to live in Australia.
But it's about people living in Australia. What is this, Leo?
So Brits are being lured to new jobs in Australia. In Perth, I was stuck in Perth in Australia for lockdown. I nearly stayed there permanently.
What, you were out there when the pandemic hit?
Yeah, I was doing the festivals out there. So I did Perth and I did Adelaide and then I flew back to Perth and then they closed the borders. So I was stuck. And it was great. Instead of, everybody at home was just trapped in their bedsits, self-harming and becoming an alcoholic. And I was running about frolicking on the beach.
So is it the case that you understand why do Brits want to go to Australia? I've been to Australia. I don't like the insects. It's always on fire, Australia, isn't it?
Well, I mean, as we said, the insects will be all you're allowed to eat soon. But no, it's not.
They can kill you though over there.
It's not on fire. Just stay away from the smoking areas. Not.
But you have to shake your boots in the morning, don't you? Because well, otherwise there'll be deadly spiders in there and they'll eat your foot.
No, I camped. Really? I camped in Australia, and I did see lots of spiders and stuff. But I mean, not very many people get killed by spiders.
Does the story say why? The Brits want to move to Australia?
It's better. It's
just better than here.
It's vastly superior. You get a bigger house, you earn more money, people are happier, the weather's better.
No snow at Christmas,
food's better,
though.
Larger portions. There's no snow at Christmas.
No, I was saying that's a negative.
It's not a negative. They've probably got like a dome somewhere that
creates
simulates
fake
snow.
Do you remember that when it wasn't Good Morning Britain? What was the thing before that? And it wasn't TVM. It was the thing in the middle, GMTV.
GMTV.
And it was always at Christmas. They always had that same man on the beach with people in Perth saying, "Do you want to give a shout out to your relative?" And they didn't look that happy. I'm not going to lie.
No.
So I don't know if I'm buying this.
Interrupted them.
Well, there you go.
No, and I remember Neighbours and Home and Away, and there was a lot of drama and trauma going on there. I don't think it's necessarily a good place or a happy place.
I used to come home at lunchtime, watch Neighbours, and then from the night before, just in case I'd missed anything, and then watch it again of an evening.
It is the kind of show that merits a second viewing. It's very layered.
So.
It's a
Do you know what is
show.
interesting, though? A lot of people were Neighbours deniers because they didn't want to admit that they watched it because they were so intellectually pretentious.
OK, well,
behaviour.
This is a new conspiracy theory for me. This is a
very good one. Anyway, that is the front page is given a good seeing to. So join us after the quick break, where we're going to dive into the murky depths within. See you in a moment.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nah, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you.
She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me.
So anyway, Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView, Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle, and my 2 comedian guests, Leo Kearse and Bruce Devlin, very much representing Scotland tonight. Kicking off now with Thursday's Guardian. Leo, will you be King of the Scots?
Yeah, maybe if I can live long enough till everyone else dies from obesity and alcoholic, as they all are, as we were just saying. But
no, we were complaining about the what was it, the autocue.
The negative connotations of Scots. We don't all deep fry Mars bars. I steam my Mars bars. So I'm
Do you not
a very
air fry
healthy
them?
eater.
Can you
air fry them?
Can you air fry a Mars bar?
I don't know.
That's what middle-class Scots
I don't know anyone in Scotland that actually. I think it's a tourist thing. I don't think anyone in Scotland actually actively goes out looking for a deep fried Mars bar.
It is delicious, though. Deep fried Mars bars are very delicious.
Let's
So they
focus on the
basically
news.
just called me fat.
Let's talk about the papers then, Leo. What's this story
there's
about?
a story. Basically, they're looking at who's going to replace Sturgeon. I'd say a plank with a face drawn on it could probably do a better job than Nicola Sturgeon.
You've never been a fan, have you, Leo?
Planks with faces drawn on them don't pass terrible laws, and that's all I want from a government is just to not do very much. But Sturgeon had to carry on doing stuff like the Hate Crime Bill, the Named Persons Act, the Gender Ideology Reform Bill, or whatever it's called. It's a nonsense. But who's going to replace her? There's a whole parade of non-entities and idiots here ready to replace her. There's John Swinney, whoever that is. Hamza Yusuf, the guy who's...
Swinney was the leader of the party.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, in the interim period. He didn't do very well, though. Nobody can remember
He
who
did.
was.
I mean, he had to step down because he lost.
No. I'm sure he was leader at some point before Alec came in.
No, it was after Salmond.
Was it after
it was
him?
after Salmond, but then he lost. So he was in the role for a good 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it was 2004 to 2008 or something.
Yeah, but maybe he's learnt from his mistakes and he's ready to
come back,
have another crack at it.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, he's 58. He's had a lot of experience, but yeah, they're looking at other people. There's various.
Angus Robertson is the front runner.
Angus Robertson
I believe.
looks like the front runner.
Yeah.
But what do you think about
Scottish
this,
name.
Bruce? Do you have any sense about who might be able to take up the mantle?
I've honestly no idea, because it's not that I don't have any interest, but it is the fact that I'm just like, they must all be... I think they'll all be in shock.
They will be, because this...
Genuinely, I think they will all be in shock.
Because no one expected this to happen yet. They thought she might hold on until after the election, right? So this is a strange thing to happen.
So I think probably in terms of sequential, whatever that is, I think Angus is probably front-runner because he was party chairman at Westminster.
Yes.
Long. But Joanna Cherry would be a very interesting candidate, just because she has, I think, very opposing views to Nicola. But
Particularly on the gender issue.
Yeah, she would have to quit as an MP here. But then how does that work with Douglas Ross? Because he's an MP in London, but the leader in Holyrood. So
There would be a way to do it, I think. But Joanna Cherry would be quite a bold move insofar as she's so the antithesis of Nicola Sturgeon when it comes to the gender issue. And the gender issue, after all, is the thing that's created this mess. So she might be an interesting candidate. If it's Humza Yousaf, he's very ambitious.
Yeah.
If it's Humza Yousaf, I'd be worried about that because he's a bit of an authoritarian.
He's very authoritarian. He's the architect of the hate crime bill, which is appalling. He's constantly stirring division. He tried to sue a nursery that wouldn't accept his kids, and he said it was racism. It
wasn't racist. The owner of the nursery was, in fact, of South Indian origin. So it really wasn't racism.
Well, I mean, different South Asian people can be racist against each other, but yeah,
it's internalised racism.
He dropped the case anyway, but yeah, and also. I mean, what was the other thing he was going to?
Well, he's
just generally pretty useless. He stood up in Holyrood and made that speech condemning everything in Scotland for being too white, even though it's Scotland, and Scotland just is kind of white because it's Scotland.
It is very white. What about... Go on, sorry, Bruce.
Sorry, he also fell off a scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really have a leader who does that kind of thing, do you? You need a leader with balance.
Yeah.
Poise, I think, is very important in a leader. Thatcher had poise. What about this Kate Forbes? Very young.
Yeah, very young, and I think
too young?
She's a Gaelic speaker, which I mean, why not have somebody who's focused on keeping an extinct language alive for no reason?
You're so anti-Scotland, aren't you? Really?
No, that's not Scotland. Scotland isn't that. Scotland is the Jesus and Mary chain and Billy Connolly and stuff. It's not this, flowers in the mist and dancing around swords.
Well, Bruce...
Where's that? Not in Dundee. Where is Mary Black in all this?
Well, that's an interesting question because I was looking through the sort of forerunners on the internet and her name hasn't even appeared, but she's a bit of a superstar within the SNP, isn't she?
A lot of people have a lot of time for her.
Yeah.
Including Robert Peston.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. OK, well, we're going to move on now. Leo, on to the far right, which, strangely, The Guardian find easier to call out than the far left, don't they?
So The Guardian they've written this piece about Patriotic Alternative, who are apparently a far-right group, who are trying to inflame local tensions in Britain to spread their far-right stance. So apparently they're capitalising on local opposition to refugees and trying to co-opt anti-migrant campaigns. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is migrants have been dumped on these working-class communities that didn't ask for the migrants. I don't know why they can't go to the communities of Guardian readers who clearly want them. And it's sowing social discord. We've seen highly publicised, apparent sexual propositioning of schoolgirls. We've got the grooming gangs in our recent history, and still ongoing history, and authorities ignore all this, and Patriotic Alternative are saying to these people, we're listening to you, we're taking you seriously.
Isn't that the problem, Leo, is when you have some legitimate grievances, such as, the example you mentioned of the young child being propositioned, but then you get these far-right groups that sort of tag themselves onto legitimate grievances and kind of stain the whole thing. Yeah. And that is a worry, isn't it?
And then the whole thing can be dismissed as grooming gangs and various other things. They just dismiss everything as this is a far right. This is a conspiracy. This is lies spread by the far right, and it's not really what needs to happen. Is the authorities, actual proper mainstream political parties need to step in and treat these issues properly. With the grooming gangs, that was allowed to continue for decades, and we're just sacrificing young girls at the altar of these liberal beliefs, and it's disgusting.
Bruce, do you have any thoughts about this?
No.
OK, so let's move on to the next story now. And this is Daily Mail. And Bruce, what's this one about? This £1 million splurge.
This is, splurge. Good use of splurge. Former army chiefs and MPs slammed Defence decision to splurge nearly £1 million on advertising.
OK.
Defence officials were condemned yesterday for, again, splurging nearly £1 million, that's £1 million, on an advertising blitz to hit diversity targets. Figures reveal the armed forces spent more than 920,000 in 21-22 on recruitment campaigns targeted to reach underrepresented communities across the UK.
So these are adverts specifically targeted to sort of say we want more people from different ethnic groups, sexualities, etc., that kind of thing. What do you think of it?
Well, I remember, because I was a bit of a wayward child, and I walked in, I am from Dundee, and I walked into, I think it was the Royal Navy, but I had on a pair of Jean-Paul Gaultier, I did platform baseball boots. Well and I went, oh, hi, and he went, what do you want? And I said, oh, I want to join. He went, get out. So, you know, that wasn't particularly diverse.
No, it wasn't.
No, that was actually quite rude.
But you do have to
It's rude saying I'm addicted to deep-fried Mars bars.
You can't be wearing platform boots in a submarine. You're going to
No, you do. I mean, they can be cumbersome and probably not ideal for the field of combat.
I would say
were they unaware of the village people?
I have no idea.
Well, exactly.
I didn't get a warm vibe.
Right.
I felt the guy just felt I was wasting his time.
What do you think about this, Leo? I mean, it does seem like a lot of money to spend on this particular approach.
Yeah, and also, I mean, is this where, you know, if you want to be nice to diverse communities or whatever, is this the way to do it, to get them to go to war? I mean, that seems a bit cruel. Also, I mean, Russia's done amazing work recruiting, you know, Chechen Muslims and ex-convicts. There's a lot of ex-convicts in the Russian army now.
Recruiting or conscripting?
Yeah, conscripting criminals.
Forcing
and forcing people. And, you know, obviously Russia goes over to Africa and, you know, bribes people to go and fight in their army. I think it's not always a positive thing. I think Russia's shown that, you know, maybe it's not that positive a thing.
OK, well, we're moving on to Thursday's Guardian now. This is a story about armed police, Bruce. This is a bit dramatic.
Is really very scary.
Yeah.
It says here that 1 in 20 US homicides are committed by police, and the numbers aren't falling. Police killings of any sort account for nearly 5% of all homicides, and that's nearly 1,200 people killed by law enforcement in 2020.
But Bruce, this is unclear to me, because when I think of homicides, I think of murders. But is this taking into account people who were shot, for instance, when they resist arrest or that kind of thing? Isn't the problem having so many guns about the place? You know, I would have thought...
Well, I think that probably is a big issue.
Yeah.
Having a lot of guns.
No.
No?
It's not enough guns.
Oh, wow.
People had more guns.
We've disagreed about this before, but what is your point here? You think that... Because I'm serious. I don't understand why the US can't understand that it needs to get control of the number of guns that are available. Anyone can buy a gun.
So the US is trying to... the government wants to restrict the number of guns in the US while they're telling the people of Ukraine, you need loads of guns. It's like, well, why do they need guns? And these, I mean, guns are your last resort against the tyranny of the government. I say that as the son of a gunsmith. But
I see, you've got something...
But these police, these aren't like bad homicides mostly. They're mostly criminals and people who are, you know, shot doing something bad, like often shooting at the police or committing a crime.
Yes, but the police can't just... shooting a criminal is not the way forward. You've got to take people to trial.
Well, it is if
due process.
It is if the criminal... the police follow procedures, so they don't just go around shooting people, and they don't just... If somebody's committing a crime, they don't just... you fake that parking document, kablamo.
No, this is
true.
true.
This is... you know, they've got procedures, and they try and use non-lethal force, and if that doesn't work after 20 seconds, then, yeah, shoot them in the face.
I think that's a terrible idea. Bruce, thoughts?
Yeah. No, I didn't realise you were the son of a gunsmith.
Yeah.
Well,
really?
One of Scotland's finest.
What? Which one?
Ian Hamilton Smith.
Oh, right, OK.
We're not using this to advertise Leo's family.
But I remember there was, again, an incident in Dundee, the guy's murder on Union Street, and there was a gunsmith in Dundee, and that was a very big thing. But no, I do think there's too many guns.
I think just get rid of the guns. Anyway, me and Bruce are on that side of this one. Anyway,
sorry.
That's all for this section. But coming up in the next section, we've got some stories about these geniuses. Dawkins, Musk, Da Vinci, Doyle... Oh, 1 minute. How did that get in there? Oh, well, never mind. See you in 2 minutes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you know, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8". My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's newspapers. Let's go straight to Thursday's Telegraph now. Bruce, it seems like Dawkins isn't a fan of make-believe. Who knew?
Yes, Richard Dawkins vows, and I quote, "I'll use everyone after scientists condemn words including male and female." The project that called for phasing out of non-inclusive language deserves contentious ridicule.
But this is odd, isn't it, Bruce? Because when you've got academic scientists saying we better phase out the phrase male or female because it's not inclusive, but they are scientists and they're sort of dealing with it. It's quite important, isn't it, to be using that?
I don't know. Is it?
Well, when you identify a species, if you want to know if it's a male or female animal, that's quite important, I would have thought.
Oh, yes, no, I suppose, because I remember once being surprised that I had a female hamster because I thought it was genuinely a boy.
Right. And then what happened? Did a child come
It was fine. I still called it Benji. It was OK.
It wasn't offended by that?
I don't think he or she was.
Well, that would be a hate crime now in Scotland.
Would that?
To misgender your
Just in Scotland?
Yeah, you'd misgendered your pet.
Where do you live in Scotland again?
I don't live in London. I escaped to freedom. But yes, some of this stuff, I mean, this is a nonsense. Like, for scientists to be saying, oh, no, you can't call it male and female. Instead, you've got to call people XYXX or sperm producing.
But this is bizarre, actually, because the XYXX thing doesn't quite add up because there are sort of chromosomological differences and don't necessarily they don't necessarily accord with sex. So why are they focusing on that?
And also, some males don't produce sperm. You could have an injury, you could have a vasectomy, and to reduce women to egg producing, like they're a chicken in a farm.
I have to say, all of these euphemisms that they're coming up for women, they sound very misogynistic to me. You know, menstruators. People who bleed, which is a phrase that Tampax started to use. You just I think maybe we should just go back to men and women. That'd be fine.
It works.
That doesn't upset anyone.
It worked so well for so long, and some of the things are just so obviously open to abuse. One of the scientists said egg carrier. You can define women as an egg carrier, and then somebody posted a picture of a guy carrying a box of eggs.
making him a woman.
It does get confusing, but good for Richard Dawkins, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, fair play to him. And what I like about this article as well, it does quote GB News, because, of course, we covered this the other day, and Francis Foster made a point about it, and he's quoted right there in the Mail. Anyway, we're going to move on now. This is The Telegraph, and this is a story about racist yoga teachers, which is surely the worst kind of racist, I would have thought.
Yeah, certainly. I'm all for this person being incarcerated. So this person says, I'm a white middle-class yoga teacher, and that's a problem. So they're saying their name's Boudica and they're a yogi. And,
I think the name Boudica's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's cultural appropriation from, I think, ancient English people. They started feeling uncomfortable about their yoga. They had the word namaste on their T-shirt. They realised other yoga people were conspiracy theorists around vaccines and stuff like that. And then there were accusations of cultural appropriation. And I agree. I mean, white people shouldn't be doing yoga. They should all be forced to do cricket. Play cricket instead. There's no movement in cricket. You'll come out incredibly unhealthy and not supple at all. But yeah, I think this is the thing that makes this worse. This person's doing this huge mea culpa, saying like, "Oh, I've been so racist with my yoga and all this." And the whole thing's just a press release for they're opening a new yoga studio. So the whole thing's an advert for the yoga studio.
A number of years ago, I found a website called Decolonizing Your Yoga Practice. People are very upset about yoga because it's an ancient Indian tradition, and they feel that white people shouldn't be doing it. Do you think they shouldn't be doing it, Bruce?
I misread Boudica as Bodicea, which was going to give me a Mrs. Overall reference, which is completely ruined now. Why do I know the name Boudica?
It's the same thing.
It's the same name, just pronounced differently.
Right,
That's
okay,
why.
fine.
It's the yoga pronunciation. If you're pretentious enough, you can say Boudica.
And is it not Namast?
Namaste.
Is it not?
I think it's namaste, yeah. I think so. Not only are you culturally appropriating, you're getting it wrong, which is racist.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I've decided that.
But I think that was in Kath and Kim that they said Namast.
Is that? So then Kath and Kim are racist?
They're Australian.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Well, then
I don't think it's linked. It's a good show.
This is very interesting. We're going to move on, nevertheless, and this is Thursday's Mail now. Bruce, has America finally got their own Greta Thunberg?
Oh, my goodness. So this is about a Seattle schoolboy who's 17 who exposes the carbon footprint of private jet-loving stars. Now, a 17-year-old boy has exposed the gargantuan carbon footprint of some of America's most flagrant gas guzzlers.
So what is he doing? Is he making a list of all the celebrities that fly around the world?
So the people that are on this list are Jerry Hall's ex-husband. We were talking about Richard... No, Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch, Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner. Now, I know a fair bit about Kylie because we're friends. She has been in trouble because she's been taking 15-minute flights. Where? Where can you go?
I mean, that's just like driving down the road, isn't it?
But she must have a huge back garden because I know her mum has a holiday home in Palm Springs. This is all true, by the way. And I was wondering if, like, from... Where do they live? They live... I can't remember now, the Valley. So would that be 15... But where are you taking a plane for 15 minutes?
You're just going to the shops, aren't you, with that kind of journey, I would imagine?
Don't the shops come to them?
You would think so.
She can't be going out. Someone will try and steal her lips.
There is a kind of hypocrisy, though, isn't there? You know, when we hear these sort of celebrities talking about how we all must reduce our carbon footprints, and then they're hopping on a plane to Elton John's house so that they can have a party, that kind of thing. I mean, it's not...
I remember... Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm sure it is correct. I remember at COP27, they had a load of dignitaries... No, COP26, was that the one in Scotland? And it was at Gleneagles?
Yes.
And I think they had a fleet of Teslas for people, but they didn't have enough electric charging points. Is this correct? Oh, I've got something right at last. And they had to get a diesel generator.
Oh, for goodness sake.
No, but they did.
Well, there we are.
That's worse
to follow
than
the cars around. So they had a van dragging a diesel generator behind these electric cars.
This is real?
Yeah, that's the Scottish government. That is just how the Scottish government works.
That is pathetic. But then Elon Musk is on this list.
But so is Pitbull. I haven't heard a release from him for years.
How can he afford a private jet?
Exactly. He's a backup singer at best.
It's like hearing that Bucks Fizz have got a yacht.
Maybe they do.
I doubt it. Maybe a dinghy from the Lidl.
Yeah.
OK, let's move on.
A kayak.
To... this is The Star. Now, Leo. And what's this one about? Saving humanity. What's this?
So Elon Musk is warning that humanity's entire existence is threatened by not by tech, not by grey goo, but by the fact that we're just not having enough babies. So the birth rate is incredibly low.
But it's Elon Musk is saying this.
Elon Musk, he's got 10 babies, 10 kids.
Oh, I wondered why he was weighing in on this one.
Yeah, he's got 10 kids, so he's doing his bit. So, he's doing a responsible thing and trying to overpopulate the Earth. He's saying, in Japan, Japan, the birth rate has dropped so low. And also, it's happening in the West, and it's happening in China as well. But they're not going to be able to replace their population.
Yeah, but Leo, children are annoying, and
they're not.
They're expensive. I understand why people don't want to.
Yeah, but you've got to have one before you can say that with any sort of... That's like saying, Teslas are rubbish to drive when you haven't driven one.
Except that I know of children, and I know people who have children.
Other people's children.
Why is it all the people who have children who I know complain about them all the time, just non-stop?
But other people...
That's true,
Other
actually.
people's children are annoying. Your own children are great.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, you've just had one, so you should know.
Yes.
Bruce, do you have any thoughts about this idea that we are not reproducing at sufficient rapidity?
I'm not necessarily sure I'm the best person to ask about population that kind of
with
thing.
your many illegitimate children.
Well, absolutely. That is the whole thing. But no, when I read this, Ghost Civilization, I thought it was a story about ghosting, which is something completely different as well. But I agree with you. I have a couple of friends who recently have children, and my goodness, they're keen to talk about the sacrifice they've made for their choice.
Yes.
As I say, it's easier having a child. A child will eventually go to school. A dog is with you all the time.
Yeah.
Grow up.
That's true. That's true. OK, and we're going to the final story of this section. This is from Thursday's Metro. And it seems Newton can keep his apples. Bruce.
Yeah, our study suggests that Leonardo Da Vinci may have discovered gravity before Newton. We all know that Sir Isaac Newton is credited for discovering gravity, but a new study suggests Leonardo Da Vinci might have beaten him to it. Now, the funny thing is, it says that Newton formulated the gravitational theory in 1665 or 1666, but it doesn't give a date for Leonardo.
Ah. Well, the point being that, we always thought Newton was the one who discovered it because the apple fell on his head.
Yeah.
But actually, Da Vinci had all those notebooks, and it was anticipating all sorts of things, right? Such as the helicopter, I believe.
Well, yeah, but I think the important thing is Newton didn't nick the idea from Leonardo. He didn't see Leonardo's blog and be like, I'm going to do this in England.
How can you be sure?
Because they didn't have blogs. So they just did papyrus or whatever it was. And
Yeah,
Leonardo da Vinci, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't sound very convincing. He drew triangles with some sand? That's not gravity. Gravity is an apple falling from a tree.
That's exactly what gravity is. Specifically, it has to be about the apple.
What colour was the apple?
Was it green?
Green, right, OK.
Yeah, it only applies if it's a green apple.
And then Eve, did she eat an apple?
She ate some kind of apple.
So what's the thing about apples, then?
Yeah, well, as you can tell, we're scientists here.
Yeah.
We've really got to grips with this story.
Newton wondered why the apple fell down instead of sideways or up, and that, gave birth to this formulation of the weak force gravity.
I'm going to step in here and say that we do not know enough about this subject, and we're going to move on.
Right.
How about
Do you
that?
know, I think that's very wise.
I think that's the way to do it. So anyway, let's move on. We're going to have another quick break now to recover from that. But joining us for the final section, we're going to be talking about a Viagra boycott, virtual reality sex workers, and killer cocks, chickens. See you in a minute.
First and foremost, I am a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion, and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle, and we're going to be taking you through Thursday's paper. We'll carry on now with Thursday's Mail. And Leo, it's nice to see that Viagra are finally standing up.
So Vladimir Putin has suffered a blow below the belt. Not blows were usually below the belt. His supplies of Viagra tablets have been suspended to Russia. So they're the latest. I mean, it only took them a year. I mean, the war's been going on for a year, and they're like every company pulled out. I thought every company pulled out in the first, which is hard to do if you've taken Viagra. Pulled out in the first, month or so. But yeah, Viagra we're still selling over there. But this isn't really going to affect Russia because they're just going to get generic Viagra. It's out of patent. They'll get it from India.
Well, it's the point that lots of different businesses are boycotting Russia on principle, and this is just
on principle a year later.
A year later, okay.
That's not really much of a principle,
isn't it? Just that because it's Viagra, it's suddenly a news headline because it's sort of a bit saucy.
Yeah.
People, bit rude, isn't it?
Yeah. Bit bawdy, bit seaside humour.
A bit of that.
It's actually tawdry.
It is more tawdry, isn't it?
It's tawdry.
We should disapprove a bit more on this show.
Absolutely.
We should take a moral stance. It's outrageous.
Have you thought about doing that?
About what? Taking a moral stance? No, I have no moral compass.
No, well, that's fair enough. At least you're honest.
Yeah, at least I know myself. We're going to move on to The Independent now. And Bruce, what's this about getting into the US?
Right.
Not getting into the US.
Yeah, so I didn't understand this. I had to read this thrice. And it's a virtual reality sex worker denied entry to US for engaging in prostitution.
Okay.
The US has reportedly denied entry to a virtual reality sex worker. So I kind of thought, did a hologram, a kind of tarty-looking hologram, for want of a better description, turn up at the airport and they were like, oh, this is very Band of Gold. I think she's been up lane and done a punter, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, so it's a virtual reality sex worker whose work is completely legal. Hex, an online sex worker, hosts shows and shares content from a VR platform to her Fansly account. Now, I don't know if Fansly is anything to do with OnlyFans. I see a lot of that on Twitter these days.
It's got to be similar, but it says that she does her performances...
on a 3D avatar wearing animal ears.
Animal ears?
Now, do you remember that documentary on dogging on Channel 4 where they had masks and there was a guy who had a really heavy cold?
I don't watch that kind of thing.
I do, because I enjoy smut and I enjoy filth, because I don't really go in for the physical myself, but I do like to keep abreast. But yeah, there was this guy and he had the cold and these women were like really pawing at him, and then he brought out some kind of horrible body spray. It was appalling to watch, actually.
So that might be why the US is not letting these sorts of people in, just out a sense of moral repugnance.
Well, yeah, and I think, if somebody's wearing dog ears on some sort of virtual reality sex show, that's not something that's good for a society. That's weakening a society.
On the other
hand, people should be outside doing press-ups and enjoying the spring air.
But Leo, on the other hand, it's not really up to customs officials to decide who this perfectly legal, this behaviour.
Yeah.
And she's not engaging in anything.
No, there's got to be something else going on. I reckon she's been arrested before for doing something in the real world.
But the thing is, I think something possibly has gone on before, and I think she was silly putting it on her whatever visa, if you see what I mean, because there is a whole load of OnlyFans people that I know from Twitter that have gone to other countries in which because they call it filming content.
And of course, so if she's going to America to work, the customs people will be like, well, you can't come here to work unless she was going there to work.
What if she's got mange in her ears?
Yeah.
Maybe they were just dirty.
Well, we're never going to solve this mystery, so let's move on to the Star now. And Leo, what would you do with this sort of cash?
Well, I'll tell you, the largest ever lottery winner is ecstatic after winning over $2 billion. But I'll tell you what's terrible about this. He's not even the real winner. The real winner is the state and the government, because they're going to tax him for more than half of it. So he's going to pay more than half of his lottery winnings in tax, which I don't think we do in the UK.
I don't think we do that. Well, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so.
Gambling winnings are exempt
So
from
this
tax
is really sad, because he's only going to end up with $1 billion. It's a really sad story, actually.
Under 1 million. And they're dollars, not pounds, so it's not quite as good.
So he won't be a billionaire, he'll be a multi-millionaire post-tax.
So a victim, really.
If he makes another $3 million, he'll be a billionaire.
OK.
But also having that kind of money, I don't even know what you would do with that. I don't know where you would even begin.
Well, I think you'd first of all get a jet.
Yes.
You know, because you don't want to walk anymore.
No, even if you just want a 15-minute trip down the road.
Yeah.
I'd give it to charity, surely, wouldn't we?
Would you?
What, so they can waste it on, like, useless things?
I'm going to say that I would give it to charity, since I'm pretty confident it will never happen, and I'll never have to fulfil that promise.
I'd invest it in things that stop charities doing things.
Yeah, but that's because you are the epitome of evil, Leo. We're going to move on to the Thursday's Mail next. Bruce, what's this about a prisoner and a sheep?
Oh, I know, honestly. This is back behind bars. A Bolivian convict tries to escape a maximum security prison disguised as a sheep. So this man, I don't know what he was in for. Oh, no, I do actually. A 15-year sentence for homicide.
Oh, homicide.
Yeah, wrapped himself in a sheepskin in a bid to roam free.
Well, you know, it's quite an inventive way to escape. Steve McQueen didn't think of that. Yeah. And he didn't make it, did he?
No.
You know who did do it? So the person who nicked Pam and Tommy's videotape.
Okay.
Disguised themselves as a sheep?
As a dog, but with a big sheepskin rug. So on the security cameras, when he nicked the tape, he wouldn't. If anybody was monitoring the security cameras, they'd just think it was the big dog.
So is this quite a standard method of criminality, to disguise yourself as livestock?
Well, it's happened twice, at least.
At least? Well, this is going to make me worry when I see sheep in a field. Are they sheep or are they criminals?
You've just got to make a noise like a sheepdog.
Yeah.
And then if they run away...
They are actual sheep.
They are actual sheep.
So, you know, we're full of good tips tonight on Headliners. I think it's really important. We're going to have a look at this final story. This one is in the Mirror. They should have got a pit bull, Leo.
Yes, so this is more animal criminality. So there's a man killed by an aggressive pet rooster, which is another word for a male chicken, or egg-carrying or non-egg-carrying chicken, or whatever you're supposed to say these days. So the daughter shared the horror of this attack, and she's warned of the dangers of aggressive poultry. So if you do have chickens out there, please do try and stay safe tonight. So this man is 67. He suffered a heart attack after the bird plunged its spur into his leg, causing him to lose litres of blood. So a horrific attack. I thought it was swans you had to be careful of.
Swans? I mean, there was an urban myth about swans being able to break your arm. I believe that's not true at all.
Really?
No, I think it is just something that people made up.
Did you ever watch the drama series The Royals?
No.
Right, well, you should. It's good. And the guy that played one of the Royals, Elizabeth Hurley, and I'm a huge fan.
Does he eat a swan?
Yes.
No way!
Yes.
I've always wondered.
He becomes the king and he eats a swan. Because apparently the swans in this country were the Queen's property.
They were.
Are they Charles' property now?
I think they still belong to the Crown, I would have thought. You're not allowed to hurt a swan. But, you know, if they're violent and dangerous, maybe you should. Anyway,
he's king.
That is all we've got time for with tonight's show. But anyway, we're going to have another quick look at Thursday's front pages before we go. The Daily Mail are running, of course, with the big story of the day, which is tearful Sturgeon quits with her dreams in tatters. The Guardian has the same story there, with Sturgeon quits, citing brutality in politics. The Times is going with huge boost to unionism as Sturgeon steps down. And the Metro is bringing in the Corbyn story. Sturgeon Corbyn, that's the story that Jeremy Corbyn will be barred from running by Keir Starmer. And the Star has got form and orderly queue. And those are the front pages for tomorrow. That's all for tonight's show. So thanks to Leo Kearse and the new kid on the block, Bruce Devlin. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be back in the big boy seat with Roger Monkhouse and Ben Norris. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stick around, because now it's time for the breakfast show.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "No, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview